inspired him to say this. So I did a little background research. Did you know that his paralysis was caused by polio that he contracted as a young man? He was only 39 years old at the time. And 11 years later, he won the presidency seat against a well-known incumbent named Henry Hoover. When Roosevelt became paralyzed, he developed an intense case of anxiety. This condition got so overwhelming, he became a recluse as a young man. His greatest fear was to be in a building and it catch on fire and he would be unable to get out. And some may say that this is quite an irrational fear. But both of his legs had no movement or feeling. So this fear was quite a legitimate concern of his. Either way, I'm not here to tell you about Roosevelt's fear, rather how he overcame it. If he had chosen fear instead of God, think of all the great things that America would have never seen. For instance, the New Deal, which was a policy that helped people get back into the workforce and boost America's economy, moving it again during the Great Depression, or the victories of both World War I and II. Even just the inspiration that he is for so many disabled Americans. He is one of the most accomplished presidents America has ever seen. Roosevelt's story is what you could call an outlier, perhaps. But the point is that fear would have been his handicap, not his legs. Fear plays the same role in so many lives. It stunts our growth in spirit and in truth. It replaces love in our lives if we let it. We're going to dive in at 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 through 19. First John chapter 4, verses 7 through 19. Dear friends, let us love one another, because love is from God, and everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. The one who does not love does not know God, because God is love. Human beings are incapable of agape love, or otherwise known as unconditional love. God is not. He is the epitome of love. He is love. If we are one of his children, his love is imparted on us and through us to show to those around us. I see those who proclaim Jesus, yet preach fire and brimstone, or acceptance of all. Where do we fall? I would like to say somewhere in the middle, but is that true? It puzzles me that people could believe that those who seek counsel will pursue the advice of those who have only displayed hate and judgment instead of love and forgiveness. The lost don't witness God in those who condemn or hate, because he is not in those terms. He is love. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13 says, "And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." Verse 9, "God's love was revealed among us in this way. God sent his one and only Son into the world so that we might live through him." Isn't it such a testament to a true trait of love, sacrifice? He gave his child to redeem us, and that is the truest example of love. His action at this point was based purely out of love for those he created. I want to point out that fear did not play a role in Jesus' ministry. Through his walk, he knew the outcome and what lay ahead, though he did not stumble or hesitate. Since he is God, then he was an embodiment of love, which gave no room to fear. I also want to highlight the last part of this verse that says that we might through him. I said earlier that his love is imparted through us. If we are of him, then we are to be part of his mission, and you cannot do that without love. Verse 10, "Love consists in this, not that we loved God, but that he loved us, and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins." And propitiation means the appeasement or the atonement. Dear friends, if God loved us in this way, we must also love one another. Earlier I said humans are incapable of unconditional love. It runs in our nature to have our best self-interest at heart. Love and pride don't tend to blend well. And the only way to receive this unconditional love and to give it is through him. Verse 12. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, God remains in us, and his love is perfected in us. Even though he's not a physical being that we can see on this planet, doesn't mean he cannot be seen. He is seen through us in the world that surrounds us. If anyone can study the human body and say that there is not a divine creator, they are living in ignorance. Did you know that approximately 3 million cells are being replaced in each of your bodies at this very moment? The only muscle in our body that doesn't get sore or give out is our cardiac muscle, the one that beats life. We each have proteins that make us each unique, round, skinny, blonde, brown, black, or white. We are each unique in him. Not only do our bodies give proof to his existence, but our actions toward the world does as well. Please stop. The greatest demonstration of God's love is to testify of him and his sacrificial example. Helping deliver that truth to people is the greatest act of kindness and love to be found. Verse 13. In the song earlier, it said, if I give to the needy soul, but don't have love, then who is poor? It seems all the poverty is found in me. So let my life be the proof of your love. Let my love look like you and what you were made of. How you lived, how you died. Love is sacrifice. Verse 15, whoever confesses that Jesus is the Son of God, God remains in him and he in God. And we have come to know and to believe the love that God has for us. God is love, and the one who remains in love remains in God, and God remains in him. The first part of verse 16 is interesting to me because you always hear people making the comparison of faith and fear. With faith, believing is the first step of action towards faith. But believing has some part to do with love as well. It says we have come to know and believe the love that God has for us. I think it's interesting to say that they have come to know it, but then reiterate believe in it as well. So it's the action of believing and trusting God's love for us. And it puts an emphasis on those that live in love, live in God, and vice versa. God and love are inseparable parts. If there was not one, then there would be no other. Verse 17. And this love is perfected with us, so that we may have confidence in the day of judgment. For we are as he is in this world. We are given that confidence in our salvation because of who God has transformed us to be through love. There is evidence of his love in us. When there is evidence of his love in us, there is evidence of him in us. Verse 18 and 19. There is no fear in love. Instead, perfect love drives out fear, because fear involves punishment. So the one who fears has not reached perfection in love. We love because he loved us first. This verse 18 could be the battle plan verse. It simply states the answer. With perfected love, there is no fear. It is driven out. 2 Timothy tells us, for God has given us a spirit of fear, has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Fear is not an emotion. It is a spirit that will run your life if you let it. Love is also not an emotion. It is a spirit that takes commitment, honesty, sacrifice, and selflessness. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 4 through 8, it reads, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Love is not fear, and it takes no place in fear. We find hope, strength, and love in him, which means he casts out all fears. Fear has been a plague in my life. No one tells you how stressful and fearful a time college can be. They just get your hopes up by telling you that it's the best years of your life. Well, my 20th year of life has by far been the best yet, but it's not due to college. It's due to my assurance in the Lord Jesus Christ. It is due to my spiritual growth. It is due to the ever-going process of perfecting my love of the Lord, this earth, my family, my friends, and people in general. I love the life I was given. So why should any of us be fearful of the future? Whether it be tomorrow or 10 years, 10 years from now. You cannot control it. If you are of him and he is in you, why fret for what tomorrow brings? Will you pray, please? Will you pray, please? Yes.